Welcome to another episode of Discograffiti's wildly in-depth Beach Boys series and Your Dreams Come True, where Brian Wilson freaks like you and me get our chance to delve deep into the barely believable history and prodigious discography of my favorite band of all time, and also coincidentally the best, along with a slew of over 50 top-shelf guests, ranging from musicians inspired by their work, family members, documentary directors, songwriting collaborators, Beach Boys authors, producers, touring band members, and for good measure, some of the Beach Boys themselves. I'm your host, Dave Gebrow, and special thanks goes out to co-producers Chuck Granata, Dennis Dyken, and Mark Freed, without whom this series would not have happened. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds. The next entry in the Chuck Granata Pet Sounds interview series is Chuck's chat with Larry Knechtel, the Wrecking Crew keyboard player and bassist who, along with Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys, has worked with Simon and Garfunkel, Duane Eddy, the Mamas and the Papas, the Monkees, the Doors, the Byrds, the Grassroots, Elvis Presley, Jerry Garcia, and Billy Joel. Love putting those two names together. He was also a key member of the band Bread. Larry passed away a few years later in 2009, which makes this posthumously released Chuck Chat yet another priceless buried treasure. Here are just a few of the many things that Larry discusses with Discograffiti in this podcast. What he ascertained early on as a studio musician's average career length, which then led to a healthy fear of his phone no longer ringing, his legendary work on Simon and Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Water. Besides Brian, the only Beach Boy he says his fellow studio musicians ever saw in the studio along with them, the curse of having perfect pitch, and his friendship with Jim Gordon, not to mention the fate of the 50-plus hours of jam tapes that he recorded with him, which included spoken ruminations on all the things that were bugging Jim. Here it is then, Larry Knechtel.
I have perfect pitch. Why, I don't know. And sometimes a drag when you work with guitar players. Yeah. And my son has it. Leon had it. Larry Carlton has it. That's not necessary, but it helps a lot.
Right.
Makes you quick on your feet.
Yeah.
And my grandfather listened to lots of classical, and I guess some of it rubbed off. I don't like it particularly, but there are certain classical songs that are, and Bach kills me.
Especially for someone who plays, organs and keyboards.
Yeah, and, the harmony. I mean, I love good chord changes, and Brian just did good chord changes.
Yeah.
I don't know how he was lyrically. I don't ever listen to lyrics. I know a lot of people think that's heresy. No, his harmonic sense was incredible, and I learned a lot from him, actually, because I was a rock and roll 4.5 chord rock and roll piano player.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, here I am working with all these people. Kind of scary sometimes.
Well, it's great education, right?
Yeah. It's kind of, you just jump in and swim. You just sink or swim. But I did have perfect pitch, and it got me out of a lot of holes I shouldn't probably have gotten out of. Nothing.
Did you know Jim Gordon?
God, yeah. I've got 50 hours of jam tapes. I had a little studio above my garage, and we used to get together about 2 Saturdays a month and play till 3 or 4 in the morning, just jamming because we were worried about getting stale. Because I always like playing live because you don't have to listen back. And it's different. It's a whole different genre. There's recording and there's playing live. And they're 2 different fields, totally. And I like both of them.
Yeah.
It was getting awkward for us to do club gigs, plus going down and setting up and all the rest of that crap, and for, $30 or $40. And so Jimmy just left a set of drums in my studio, and we get together, and Jim Horn, Mike Basie, myself, and Max Bennett, and a bunch of different people, and just have a great time.
Wow.
Yeah, Jim, that's a tragic story.
Yeah, I mean, did he pass away now?
No, he's still alive.
He's still alive?
Yeah, he's in a mental institution.
He is?
Yeah, he killed his mom with a hammer.
Yeah, I'd heard that.
He had classic schizophrenia.
Wow.
It was so sad because he was Jack Armstrong. I mean, Mr. America.
Wow.
Good-looking, great player, charming guy, and I don't know what the hell happened, but it sure did.
Do you know what year that happened in?
No, it was after I moved out of L.A. When he went with Derek and Domino's, things started getting really weird for him.
So it must have been like 68, around there?
No, I left L.A. in 73, so...
Oh, so it was...
when he killed his mom, that was after that.
Wow, that's really...
Mike Close is another good friend of mine. He and Jimmy grew up together. Mike's the one who called the cops. I took some of the tapes to the dump because Jimmy was trying to talk about what was bothering him. I didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, that's so sad.
Yeah.
And, Steve Douglas, too, seemed like a really talented guy.
He was. He, like I say, he was with Duane Eddy, and then he became the contractor with Phil. And, Phil pretty much used the same guys. They talk about clicks and all that crap. It basically is you can't afford to waste time on an unknown commodity when the studio time is money.
Right, that's right.
And you find guys that work, you stick with them, unless they do something you don't like. And you learn not to do that.
Man, well, Phil and Brian just, kept you guys for a long, long time.
Man, it was great. A little heady, and I was 23 when I first started doing sessions all the time. We were having a good time. Not all the time, but with things like Phil and Brian, those were good. We did a lot of crap, Back then they did a lot of albums on artists. I don't know what the deal was. They had a roster of artists, and they do albums on them. A lot of stuff wasn't very good. But,
right.
The Mamas and Papas, the Beach Boys, Phil Spector, the Byrds, those kind of things they were happening, and they were good, and they sold. I also did the Grassroots and the Partridge Family. We won't talk about that.
That's so funny. I listened to a Partridge Family album the other day.
Well, you're for hire, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, someone just gave me this copy. It was like in mint condition, so I said, I have to play this. Like a blast from my past,
Yeah, we did all that. Andy Williams, Johnny Mathis, and all that kind of stuff, as well as, but we look forward to the Bryans and the Spectors and the Byrds and Mamas and Papas because they were more creative and inventive. I mean, the other stuff was all written out, and you just went in there and were a robot.
Right, you just played.
Yeah, and that was never the case with those guys.
Well,
I always had chord sheets, and so did Phil. So you could keep track of it once he showed you how he wanted those chords played.
But Phil didn't write everything out either, right?
Chord sheets.
That was it, though.
Yeah, well, Jack Nitzsche was Phil's arranger.
Right.
So he'd write the horn parts and stuff.
Right.
But the rhythm section, no, that was
just the chords.
Chords, yeah.
But now Brian would never write the horn parts out or anything. He would.
I don't know. I really don't know that.
Yeah, I'm getting the sense that he would just either play it on the piano for the players.
A lot of times he just told them what to play.
Right.
And then a lot of times the bass in the left hand of the keyboards was integral with the Fender and the upright bass as well.
Gives a nice sound.
Part of his harmony. And sometimes he would write those out, the bass lines, because memory doesn't serve all the time.
Right. Yeah, Carol said her bass lines were written out for a lot of the stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that because they were a real important part of his music. And rather than, it's easy to miss a note here and there or think you have it, but you don't.
Right.
And then writing it out takes care of that.
It's pretty amazing stuff, even now.
Yeah, I'm not one to really try to live in the past. Most of the time I don't really want to talk about it. I enjoyed it and it was great, but, I still have other things I want to do.
All right, that concludes your free sneak peek into today's Patreon episode. If you want to hear the rest of it, just visit patreon.com/discograffiti and either purchase this podcast by itself for $4, or better yet, subscribe at the major tier and get access to Discograffiti's 4 weekly episodes. That's Friday's free episode, the Sunday Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound episode, which showcases Patreon members and the Elephant Six world, your Monday bonus episode, and your Wednesday early release ad-free super extended director's cut of that Friday's show. Please keep in mind this is entirely how I support my wife and 6-year-old son, so don't risk feeling badly about yourself by not supporting Discograffiti. Become a member so you don't miss a single thing at patreon.com/discograffiti.